Happy Friday and welcome to episode 54. We have this pro bodybuilder and legend, Mr. Kyle Stevens, in the house. And we've got a couple of friends with us too. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. We got Xena, the warrior princess, and Honey Cat because she's like Pooh Bear, just full of honey.
Oh, man. Well,
So,
we not
and
only
then
have,
of course I brought the hottest thing around, Mr. Wade Wilson, with me.
so a superhero and three
And,
legends is what I'm
and
landing
if
here.
Wade is lucky, he might even get a kiss.
Oh, man.
Got to stay pumped.
Well, I've been looking forward to this. We've been really anticipating kind of real talk for a little
Heck,
bit because I think
yeah,
that there's a lot of things that are going on in the bodybuilding world right
real
now.
talk, real talk,
Ooh,
real talk
I can't
with the
shake
storm,
my.
with the stormtrooper and the legend himself. Oh yeah.
Well, for those of you joining us, many of you don't know that Kyle and I go way back to probably 2018 when he last stepped on stage. Is that correct?
I think that was the last year I stepped on stage. Well, I stepped on stage when I saw you last, but I was on stage last year. I did 4 bodybuilding shows last year, and then it was retirement. So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Well, I want to talk about your highlights, your career. You've been a man that I've really kind of chance to connect with on a level of faith because I know you're a man of faith, and you
very
also have
much.
prolific in the way that you've stepped on stage, and how you've really treated your preps, how you've respected the sport, and what's a little bit of background about you and how you started in here.
So I started back in 1998 when I first stepped on stage. So yes, for you, ladies and gentlemen out there who are Generation Z or Generation X, that would be 1998. So, but I started back then. So I actually competed in the teenage division before there was juniors. So now in juniors, you have to be 18 years old or older to compete. Back then, you just had to be a teenager. Um, I started then, and then at my very first show, I met Brad Hollabaugh, who turned into my foster father. So Brad, God rest his soul, an amazing human being. You knew Brad very well too. Just an amazing guy. Guy pretty much held the world record for largest arms. 27-inch arms pumped. The dude was 315 pounds with abs. He was a beast. And dude, he just got me into it, and I just had a complete, amazing, wonderful passion for all of it. Um, uh, back in, I did over 30 bodybuilding shows. I've never been out of the top 5 except for my very first pro show where I took 8th. Other than that, never once out of the top 5. Last year, I decided to compete in 4 shows back to back. Just to kind of go have fun and just kind of make a good statement for the Lord. And it was awesome, dude. It was a cool thing, man. I became a pastor back in 2017. I actually got my doctor in divinity, so I became a pastor. Pretty cool stuff there. And man, I've just been on an amazing ride with the Lord, man. He just takes me from point A to point B, then to point C, then whatever comes after C. I'm not that smart. So I think it's F. I can't remember.
I
So
think B, C, D, D. It's D. But
there we
let's
go.
let's talk about point A to point C because you are an affiliate and you've worked with Big Dance Nutrition for how long? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I had been with Big Dance for 8 years, but I've been in the supplement industry for 20. So I started off with GNC, and I was at GNC for years, and I went off and did my own thing for a minute, and then it was kind of a unique story. I was actually just doing online coaching and stuff like that, and called Dan up, and I was like, dude, I'm just looking for like 10 hours a week. I went to work for 1 week, and then it turned into like 50 hours a week. So I am now Big Dan's Nutrition's Chief Operations Officer. So I am his COO. I am also partnered with Krista McNaughton Davis, who used to be a pro with GBO, very first ever women's Miss Atlas. And she retired a couple years ago. Now she's into Ironman training, which is cool. We still get along great. But we own a gym together, so I'm a business owner as well, and I'm also a pastor. So I do a lot of real fun, cool things. Matter of fact, on Wednesday when we decided to do this, that's why I kind of looked a little lobsterous. Maybe not a rock lobster, but I am a lobster. So be careful of my claws. But anywho, we were out there with River City Church, which is one of the churches I'm affiliated with. I'm also affiliated with Real Life Ministries. We are out feeding a bunch of families with Second Harvest Food Bank. We fed over 188 families here in Spokane alone. A month ago, we wound up feeding 227. So we're just out there just trying to help other people out, man, and help spread the good news. And of course, man, I try to always bring just a big giant smile to people's faces, because guess what? That is the best exercise of all.
Yeah,
Takes more muscles to do this than it does to do this.
You're exactly right. 38 and 8, I think, what I hear. But let's talk about it, because at Kyle Stevens Pro at Instagram. You can follow Kyle Stevens on Facebook as well. I see a lot of your videos that you do for Big Dan's Nutrition, and I know Big Dan's Nutrition is something that I follow on Instagram. Let's really kind of pull the curtain back on what you're seeing. You're out of the Pacific Northwest. I'm down here in Texas. There's a show going on right now. The Branch Warren is tomorrow. Plan on going to that. I'm a big fan of the sport.
Same
now,
here.
what are you seeing recently? I know that, during lockdown, there were a lot of shows that got canceled. We're seeing a lot of different things in the sport, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So let's get your take on what are you seeing as far as the way bodybuilding is moving in from 2021 to 2022. Is it growing? Is it declining? What are some of the things that are going well, and what are the things that are not?
Well, that's a unique, cool question, because when it comes to the shows, I believe, are doing great. Bodybuilding itself, though, is a dying breed. You have less and less competitive bodybuilders actually jumping into bodybuilding. Matter of fact, I was just over at the Empire Classic, which they hold right here in Spokane, which is a National Physique Committee show held by Rubik Productions. And I actually saw quite a few bodybuilders, which was great, but still, compared to when I was competing years ago, dude, I remember going up on the Emerald Cup stage, and this was, I want to say it was like 2008 or 2007. I went up there, and I was in the light heavyweight division, and I went against 38 guys. When I went and competed last year, 16. That's a big decline. Now, when I went and did the Excalibur, which is down in Texas, a John Lindsay show, I did that show, and there was a total of 6. So, and then I watched the Excalibur last time, and there was 4, and that's in my weight. That was in my old weight class. So, so I see a decline in that, but I see the physique, and I see the classic physique blowing up. And I think it's great that there's more out there for competitors, which is great. But I think that there's a big decline on the guys that just want to be complete freaks. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also look at what you're seeing nowadays too, with a lot of these freaks passing away at an early age as well. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with nowadays people go get a gym membership and they go buy a bottle of Tren. So, so I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. A lot of people aren't really keeping track of their health. Watch guys like Rich Piana and stuff like that, which is like eat. Doesn't matter what you eat, just eat. Get food in. Well, if you're eating 35 cheeseburgers a day while taking a ton of growth hormone, a ton of testosterone, a ton of other anabolics, it's going to be horrible for your heart. Next thing you know, you're going to fall dead. Now, you're talking to a guy that's also had 3 heart attacks. So I could tell you this as well, that, the bodybuilding lifestyle, if you aren't doing it for health purposes and you're doing it just for size, and if you get too big too quick, your organs can only do so much. And after a certain period of time, they're going to fail on you. So, but if you do it smart and you hire a coach, and a coach that actually has your best interest at heart, not just your best interest, but also wants you to have longevity. They want you to grow up. They want you to get married. They want you to have kids. They want you to actually be around and be a husband and a father to your kids, which is, if they really are looking at that, not being like, hey, I want you to put 50 pounds on in the next 3 months. Granted, I have a client that just did that, but he's staying healthy while doing it, which is great. So, but yeah, I see a real decline in the bodybuilding itself. And I don't know how it is over there, but I know that over here at the local shows, if you have somebody that jumps on stage who is, keep in mind, these are national qualifying shows. You got somebody that jumps on stage that's national, that looks like they're going to be pro, they normally don't win the show. Because they say what I've been hearing a lot lately from the judges is that is not the look or the criteria for that class. For example, the last show, which was here, the Empire Classic, when I went to that one, the lady on stage. Now, like, this has nothing to do with the promoters. This has to do with judging criteria. So that's all it is. So I'm not docking any promoters. So the promoters who might be listening to this right now, this is not a doc on you guys. You guys put on a great show, and I love it to death. But the judging criteria, my personal opinion, is if somebody's on stage and they look like they put the work in and they are the winner, reward them. Don't be like, that's not part of the judging criteria. So it's like, that is, to me, complete hogwash. And I see it more and more and more, where it's like, there was this girl, her name is Amanda, and she was on stage here at the show. She took second. She went to the Emerald Cup and won it. That chick's going to be a IFBB pro probably this year. I have no doubt in my mind about it. She looked like a pro. She looked like a pro level wellness competitor, and she deserved first place. And they didn't give it to her. And they said, because you're not supposed to have striated glutes. Now, the entire time growing up in bodybuilding, they say you won't win a show without striated glutes. And now they're telling the girls, hey, don't have those. So it's a unique thing. When it comes to actual bodybuilding itself, one thing I really notice, especially guys walking into my store and stuff, is want it now. It's taken me since 1998 until 2022 to build what I have, and I'm downsizing now. I'm actually down 40 pounds. So, but there's all these people that just want it right now. Give it to me now. How can I get 21-inch arms right now with abs? So it's like, well, you weigh 134 right now, so it's going to probably take you about 15 years. So,
yeah.
So that's kind of the thing I run into a lot, is that it's just people not really concerned about the health part of it. I was actually talking to, I wasn't talking, I was watching a video with Kali Muscle the other day. And dude, he is just like on a rant about the way the industry's gone. Because it's all about.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about where the industry is going, because here's what I'm finding. Here's the conundrum, right? The judging criteria back in the day was, look, you need to be conditioned, you need to be dry, you need to be peeled, and have the muscle. Yeah. And now we're kind of seeing some of these legends who are paying the price when they originally invested in themselves in competing. And then when they're not, you're starting to see noticeable difference. And these guys who wants this instant gratification, who think in 2 to 3 years they can go pro, step on an IFBB pro stage, and all of a sudden be God's gift to glory. Yep. Now, when back in the day in Arnold, because you and I have been around the block, you've suffered heart attacks. I wanted to keep my health under control. I get my blood work done every 6 months. What are some of these newer generation bodybuilders? Do you really think that maybe the criteria has changed because they're now starting to see the long-term effects of what bodybuilding has done with older legends?
I don't think that the judging criteria has changed for health purposes. I think it's changed more for wallet purposes. That's my honest opinion. It's all about money. Whether you die or not, I don't think they really care too much. That's my honest opinion. I don't think that the promoters really, I think that they'll be like, well, that's too bad. Sorry to hear about it. But I think when it comes down to it, I think that what it comes down to is really just truly money. Now, I've seen this in the past. I can't quite say I've seen it recently, but I have seen it in the past, where it's who you know, what team you're on. I've actually been told by guys like King Kamali and stuff like that, not for me to come to New York and do a show because I'm not going to place. Even if I deserve it, I won't place. I saw it with my buddy Landon, who went to junior nationals. Dude, the guy should have took first place, hands down, no joke. They gave him third, one point away from getting his pro card. They did it to him, and it was just because of who he knew. Or should say, who he didn't know. And I definitely seen that. I see what it's really come down to is money. Now, if you don't care about that, which is my personal thing that I do with all my clients, I say, don't care. Don't care. This is for you. It's not for anybody else. I get it. You want a first place trophy, but guess what? So does everybody on the stage. Nobody shows up for second place. But I want you to do this healthy. I want you to show up bringing your best package. So, and I just try to tell them, this is a journey. It's a journey. Let's have fun with it. So it's like, if you're only worried about first place and that's the only thing that you are doing this for, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. This is to help you grow better. So, in Romans chapter 5, it says, praise the Lord in your suffering, for your suffering will produce endurance. That endurance will produce better character, and that character will produce a hope. And that's why I tell people, man, straight up, it's just like, you're going to suffer. But that suffering is going to give you an endurance to get through anything in life. And it's going to give you a better character. And if you don't take first place, you're going to have an even better character because of how you handled it.
I love
So,
that. Let's take it back to muscular development, muscle and fitness. The days
yeah.
where we were watching those, Generation Irons, and we were flipping through the magazine saying, man, one day I want to look like this, right? We
I
thought
still got
as
a
pros,
stack of magazines.
I know, and I still do too, and it's amazing. We were thinking that, one day we could become a professional bodybuilder. We would get all the girls, we would make all the money, and life would be just rosy. And, as we know, there's very little money in bodybuilding. So you've seen all these organizations pop up, and me running a non-tested, non-sanctioned organization or quote event, right?
Yeah.
Which means I'm not affiliated with any certain letters, which I love. Here's what I'm finding. People, I think, originally start out with a pure intention or a pure heart.
Mm-hmm.
What happens along the way? What are they told? What happens when, you're all blinders on, full forward, and you want to be number one? You do get that addiction to wanting to be at top dog level. So let's talk about what happens when those blinders do come on and we start to not heed the advice of either the warning signs of health, or we go for a certain organization's pro card and we'll do it anything at all costs. Have you experienced that throughout your career?
I have. And speaking of Top Dog, thank you, Top Dog, for this t-shirt. Yeah. Shout out to Brandon and Joe Long.
Brandon.
Yeah. They're going to be at your show.
I heard about that.
Yeah, they're going to be at the Storm Classic. So I think what it's come down to is that I think a lot of people get lied to. And I think a lot of coaches will not be completely honest with their clientele. If somebody doesn't have the genetics to go that far, you can only do so much with somebody's genetics. And they think more is better. So pump more oil into your muscle, pump more growth hormone into your body, pump more insulin into your body, pump more protein into your body, also stuff, not really caring about the long-term effects, even though any coach should know the long-term effects. They should know anything that they recommend to their clientele and the milligram dose and the gram dose and the calorie count, everything, and what they're doing to their clients. So that way you can say, hey, we either need to back off or bump it up. And if we're going to bump it up, it's going to be for a short period of time. And bodybuilding is addictive. Dude, getting in the gym, hitting the gym, breaking down the muscle tissue, going through eccentric and concentric movements, letting all that dopamine be released in your brain, letting you feel like $1,000,000. You walk out of there and you're just like, dude, this is awesome. An hour later, the pump's gone and they're like, dang it, this sucks. But either way, the whole point is, what I tell a lot of people is, the whole point's to look better naked, right? That's the whole point we hit the gym. I originally started hitting the gym just because I enjoyed how I felt, and I wanted to come back from summer, come back into wrestling, and I wanted people to go like, dude, I don't want to step on the mat with this guy. And it turned into bodybuilding. I also grew up He-Man and Thundercats, so I always wanted to be He-Man or Lion-O. I wanted to be one of the two. That's kind of what got me into it. But I know nowadays everybody wants those really quick results, and you see it more and more. These guys that just get too big too fast, and with that too big too fast mentality, without coaches and other people trying to help them along the way, like really truly help them. And it's not just helping them with their physiques, but also helping them as a person. And if you are feeding to your clientele, you're going to turn pro. I know you have a dream. I never want to be somebody's dream killer, but I'm going to be somebody that tells people the truth, which is, I want to hit the Olympia stage. I want to get on the Olympia stage. Good luck.
Yep.
Good luck. Good luck. Let's be reasonable. Why don't we win a local show first before you think you're going to jump onto a pro stage? Because that's a whole new mentality. Because when it comes to turning pro, IFBB aspects, going to nationals, doing any of these other things, there's a price that's going to be paid, and it's years off your life.
And let me just talk about this for a second too.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt, because when we talk about responsibility, you're one of the very few coaches who keeps it real. So think about this: a client comes.
I learned from Peter Parker.
There you go. You got a Spider-Man. Man, you're getting everything today. I love it. We almost had Peter Parker joining us, so my son's running around in a Spider-Man costume right now.
Dude, he should jump on.
I know, and he might here soon. So if you see me keep looking over here, I'm making sure he doesn't. You know, when I think about, let's say I'm a brand new athlete and I want to step on stage for the first time, or I really want to go all in and, quote, have this thing in my mind where I want to be on the Olympia stage. Where does the responsibility lie with the coach to be realistic, yet also encouraging for a client at the same time? Because you mentioned it. You could be scripted all this stuff. And you know what? A lot of it is going to show you results or progress. But frankly, very top 1/2 of 1/4 of 1% are going to make it to the Olympia, let alone even place in the top 10. And so when you think about that, that is a very, very minute and small percentage of the population. And it's not that you're dream killing. It's that you're actually being realistic. So where does the responsibility lie when someone's personal health is at stake when they're going for something like this? Is it 100% on the coach? Is it 80% on the coach? And then the client, where do they kind of fall into that?
I think it lies if your client has this vision and this dream of being on the Olympia stage or winning the Arnold Classic or any of these other pro shows, right? And if that is their goal, and if they can truly, and if you look at them and genetically you think that they could do it, that is the coach's responsibility to ask, how far do you want to go with this? Because if that's really, because you have the genetics to do it. And if you have the genetics to do it, and if you are willing to take it full force 100% of the way, then it is the coach's, it's the coach's heart that's really going to have to say, either we can go all in, but this is your health, not mine. But I don't want to be the cause of you hurting yourself. So if this is going to be up to you, talk it over with your family, everything else like that. If you want to do this, it's going to take years off your life though. And I need to forewarn you. But if they don't have the genetics to do it, you got to be straight with them and say, I'm sorry, but winning a local show, you got a good chance. You know, especially if we get you shredded and we build up the muscle where it needs to be built, and we get your waist tiny and you show up and you're just nothing but skin, bone, and muscle, dude, yeah, you can win a local show. But dude, to think that you're going to go on to it and go to nationals, win nationals, go to the Olympia and place top 5 and actually make a little bit of money, chances are going to be probably 0. Yeah. And that's where the coach really needs to say, if that is your goal, and if that's really where you really want to go, this is what you're going to have to do to get there. Yeah. And if you go there, I don't know if I want to train you, because I don't want to be the cause of you hurting yourself.
So let's hit the pause button on that. Let's rewind, because you mentioned something a little earlier that I picked up on that I wanted to revisit. And if you're okay with kind of being open or transparent about your personal story, you said you've suffered a heart attack, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yeah.
Did you see some of the warning signs? What was your lesson from that? And did you see these things coming, and how did you adapt?
Well, the first one I had, I didn't learn my lesson. That's why I had the second one. Those were cocaine induced.
That'll do it, right?
That would definitely do it. I was a drug addict, and I actually wound up smoking a bunch of crack, and that was my drug of choice. And I was a crackhead. I was an alcoholic. I also did pornography. It's part of my testimony of the guy I used to be. I have died to that. God has remade me. 13 years completely sober. And the Lord has just completely changed my life, completely from the inside all the way through the outside. And I just want to be more of him and less of me, for people to see more of that glory, more of that hope, more of that love, more of that joy. And the fact that it's free, it's available, and you can be free from any prison, any chains that you possibly have right now in your life. And all you have to do is go to God. When you are too weak to continue to go, he will give you the strength to make it. At the end of you is the beginning of him, which is going to help you just become an overall better example of who Christ is, because you'll be living it, because he lives inside of you. My third heart attack I had, that was kind of on me. I ignored doctors with high blood pressure medication, because that one happened about 4 months back. So it's one of the reasons why I'm downsized and why I decided to retire from bodybuilding. Because my last show, I went through, like I said, 4 shows back to back, and definitely saw the warning signs while I was competing. It definitely did exactly what I knew it was going to do. So I was about 3 weeks out from the Emerald Cup, and I was peeing, pooping blood, vomiting blood. I mean, you name it. I was just so depleted, so beat up on the inside, just destroying myself. But I was just like, I'm going to get through this. And it's just like, Lord, if you can just help me. And he did. He got me through it. But there's consequences to our actions. There's consequences to the choices that we make in life. And if that's one thing I can tell any bodybuilder out there right now, if you are seeing warning signs of you not doing well, you really need to take a hard look at yourself, because put the ego down, put down your dreams, put down your goals, and say, is it my goal to win a show, or is it my goal to live to be at least 60?
Yeah.
So which one's more important? Because we've seen it. I mean, you know, some guys, I know some guys looked amazing, walked on stage, 2 days later, they're dead.
Well, it's not only guys now, Kyle. It's now women.
Too.
And you know, we had this incident, and I won't name any names because I want to protect those families. And you know, I knew some very close friends that they lost loved ones because they weren't either paying attention to the warning signs or they didn't understand the implications or complications. So if you guys are just tuning in, I know we had a flood of new people coming in. We have Kyle Stevens, former pro bodybuilder and athlete, and someone who I've truly admired and respected for not only where he came from, but where he is and where he's going. And, you know, we have a lot of similar connections. I know Brandon and I have talked with Top Dog Nutrition. I know Heidi Moe is up in the Pacific Northwest, and you've seen her at the Emerald Cup, and she's part of fitnessmodels.com as far as when we used to be in that community. And, you know, I think about how this sport is starting to change. So let's hit the fast forward button and let's hit play. We're talking about bodybuilding being really that dying breed. And now what we're seeing is men's physique. And we're seeing bikini really kind of take the stage as far as the marketing for keeping, quote, bodybuilding alive. Yeah. And since there's really no money on the bodybuilding side, or very little of it, really what's carrying promoters or what's carrying shows are the 50 to 60 to 70 girls that show up for bikini, 40 and 50 girls that show up for men's physique. And now wellness has been introduced as well as classic physique. And that's a more attainable physique where people don't have to go crazy and ballistic to the extreme to try and get that mass monster muscle type thing. So how are you seeing that kind of changing and kind of incorporating in?
It's also, I love the fact that they brought bikini in. Now, granted, yes, when you're competing, you're almost like, oh my gosh, 300 girls, we got to go through all that before we jump on stage. You know, so there is that. But, you know, it's just like I can only look at so many butts on stage before I'm finally like, okay, I've seen enough butts.
But and they all look the same at that point. You're like, yeah, that's great. Leave it to the judges.
Exactly. I am so glad I'm not a judge that I have to judge them all, because I might have a little headache. But I think it's great. Honestly, I mean, I love classic physique. I love physique. I think it's so much more, like you said, attainable. It's also healthier. They don't have to take as much gear. Some of them don't have to take any, which is unbelievably awesome. And it's just a healthier option. It's a healthier way to go. And like you said, it's easy for somebody to really kind of do it. I mean, I know guys that get ready for men's physique that diet for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So compared to some women who are dieting for wellness, or they're dieting down for bodybuilding or women's physique, and they have to diet for 5 months, or guys that are dieting for a half a year just to do one show. You know, it's not easy on the body. It's not easy on the organs. It's not easy on the brain. It's not easy on the heart. It's not easy on all those things. And that includes especially guys who are doing, some of them in classic and a lot of them in bodybuilding, that during that period of time, they're taking heavy doses of protein. They're taking heavy doses of testosterone, of growth hormone, you name it. Because, I mean, obviously, I mean, we're going to be real. I mean, drugs in this sport, when it comes to hormones, I don't really want to say drugs, even though they're a class 3 drug, which is silly, but it's a hormone. When you're putting so much of it into your body over a certain period of time, it's not healthy for us. I mean, just think about testosterone by itself. It promotes more red blood cells, which can cause thicker blood, which then can cause, if you have any sort of a blockage, it's going to cause you to get a blood clot, which then causes you to have a stroke. So So if you're not regularly checking up on with a doctor, getting your blood work done, constantly every 3 to 6 months giving blood, you're putting yourself at a higher risk. And I think we're starting to really see that now with guys like Cedric and Sean, and guys who are passing away, even Rich and all these other guys that are dying in their 40s.
Yeah. Well, you said something that I thought was really interesting. And now we're starting to see this spill more over into the general health and wellness population. You're seeing a lot of low T clinics. People are aware that after 40, your natural testosterone does tend to, start to on the decline. And so there's really no way to naturally, consistently bring up your test levels back. So now you're starting to see this. And shockingly, for most of you who are watching, if you walk into a gym, you're going to notice the best bodies first. But what you don't notice is how many people are actually using some form of testosterone, and you would never know unless you asked them or you found the doctor that scripted it. So can you talk about how many people are actually probably doing something to where they are supplementing their body with something like that?
Well, so when it comes to TRT and testosterone, I am probably the biggest advocate for it. My foster mom owns a TRT clinic here in town. She actually owns two of them, and my sister-in-law, she works there. She's one of the lobotomist or phlebotomist or whatever. People who pull blood. Lobotomist, I don't know. She probably took some of my brother's brain with her, I'm sure. Yeah. But I'm all for it. I mean, I am seeing guys right now in their teens. We're talking 18, 17 years old that have the testosterone of an 80-year-old man. Like, no joke. I mean, a normal testosterone range for somebody between 60 and 80 years old is 200. That's where your testosterone count should be at, is 200. Now, if you're 17 or 18, you should be up in the 11 to 1400s. So, and we're seeing more and more of that happen, which I think a lot of it is lack of exercise. And on top of that, too, lack of eating correctly. So, those are two things that are going on. And you're also seeing, too, if you're not training your legs, you're going to have low testosterone. So, because your testosterone comes from everything that's below the waist.
Yeah.
So,
and heavy lifting and excruciating load, progressive overload. You mentioned the younger generation, and we talk about maybe them really excited about wanting to get on stage and being, quote, the youngest pro, or, going for their pro card when they're young so they can have this lifelong career, which they're really kind of in another world. So if we were to recommend something, because I think that what you said is nutritionally, the way that you train, there is, I think, a limit to when someone early on in their career, this is one of the reasons why natural organizations have been thriving right now. Can you talk about what you're seeing with kind of the natural side of bodybuilding? Granted, there are organizations out there that are tremendous and they test well. There's other organizations that we kind of wonder, what are you seeing on the natural side?
So I don't see too many natural shows these days. But a lot of that I think comes down to with how many people actually are prescribed testosterone. And like I said, man, I'm a huge advocate for it. So, because with us guys, without testosterone, we become little ladies. So basically, we're PMSing every day because our estrogen levels are too high. And so I'm all about people taking testosterone. Now, if you are prescribed it, are you technically natural? No, but it's putting you at a level that keeps you natural, that where your natural level should be at. And I believe that those people should be able to do a natural show. Especially like I got a gentleman who's 62 years old, and this guy here is freaking crazy awesome looking. He had just got done. He did. I think he walked away with something like 15 first place trophies this year. I mean, the guy's just killing it. It's amazing. But if you are a competitor and you're natural, you are going to have to work 50 times harder than somebody who's not. You're going to have to eat more food. You're going to have to train harder compared to the guy that's not. Does it give you an edge to take the stuff? Yeah, it does. 100%. Absolutely. And it really comes down to a simple thing of what you're willing to do. And it's harder for a natural person to get that shredded, crazy, lean, full, hard look. It's just, it's, I'm not saying it's impossible to obtain because I've seen it. But it's definitely a lot more difficult. And I got mad respect for those guys. I got mad respect for them completely. Um, but I mean, in general, it's all about getting, it's all about, even if you're buying black market or home brewed stuff, whatever, I don't care what you do. I care what kind of a person you are, period. So, but go get your blood work done.
Yeah.
Every 3 to 6 months, go get your blood work done. Make sure that you're healthy. Get your blood pressure checked once a month. You can go buy a home monitor blood pressure cuff that goes on your wrist for $25. Just do it yourself. Make sure that you're staying healthy. Go give your blood about every 3 to 6 months as well, so that way you don't get blood clots. So, but I mean, overall, dude, yeah, natural bodybuilding's rough. It isn't for me. I've trained guys. I got a couple guys that I trained that are completely natural, and they work their tails off, man. So they definitely work their tails off. So,
well, I want to disseminate two words here. I want to make this clear: normal and natural. So when we think about somebody who's natural, we think about someone who is not on supplementation, and they're going with naturally what their body produces and what they can give them, and how they can really maximize the efficiency of that. When we talk about normal, we think about ranges. If your range is at 200, you're not in normal range for your testosterone level, but you're still natural, right? And then if you actually take something supplement and just get to the 700 to 900 range, you're actually in considered normal range, but not natural. So I think that, when we talk about these things, and here's what I see, Kyle. I think if you're in different parts of the United States, you're starting to see bodybuilding change. When you think about Florida, Texas, and Phoenix, I'm just going to use those southern states, for example. The natural organizations are absolutely everywhere. And that's what they kind of hang their hat on. When it comes to the non-tested side, really what you're looking at is NPC. And, I know that, you're familiar with PCA overseas, and, they have a very established organization, and they're starting to come into the U.S. and introduce their brand into here. And so really, what are you seeing kind of on the physique side? Because you're a bodybuilder, I'm a physique guy. Let's talk about really what's going on with physique guys. Because you remember Sadiq when he first came in, and this guy was, a natural kind of a beach look. And then all of a sudden, these guys are getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. And these classic guys who can't really make it quite, and they want to try out physique, you've got quads popping through board shorts. What are your thoughts on the physique, gentlemen?
Man, I think the physique guys are great, man. One thing I definitely noticed is because these guys are getting that much bigger, you're also seeing the weight limits get up. They're changing the weight limits. I mean, remember when before it was 212, it was 202?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now it's 212.
Yep.
You're looking at like the classic, and it used to stop at like 179 or something like that, and now it's up to 198. So you see that, and that's because they're kind of trying to help these guys out because somebody doesn't want to go from classic to bodybuilding because of the fact that if you go from classic to bodybuilding, you're not going to win anymore.
No.
So, and you're going to need a few years to put on the size to be able to make you win. Now, I've seen at the local level and stuff like that, a lot of these guys that will do multiple classes. They'll do all three, and they win all three. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, where's the criteria here? It's like if you win bodybuilding, classic, and physique, there is no criteria because those are three completely different physiques. And there needs to be a criteria for each and every single one of them. Now, granted, like I'll go back to our beginning, which I said the best bodybuilder and the best body on stage should be the winner, no matter what. And I think that's really kind of what that.
Oh, and we lost him. Let's see if we can get him back. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was getting a phone call. Spam and eggs was calling me. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that we're starting to really kind of run into there is that the federations are really trying to compensate the competitors.
Yeah.
So they're trying to compensate the competitors by saying, you guys are getting bigger, faster, so we need to up the weight limits for this. And do I agree with it? I don't. I think that if you have achieved the goal in classic and the goal in physique, and now you have out-achieved that, it's time to move forward.
or stop moving the goalpost to accommodate that crew. Is that what I heard?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So it's just like these guys need to move up a class. They need to go into a different class. So if they're too big for classic, they need to go into bodybuilding. If they're too big for physique, they need to go into classic. So that they did it with women. You're too big for bikini. It's time to go into wellness. You're too big for wellness. Go into figure.
That's you segued perfectly into the ladies, because I wanted to get into that. And Stephen Harden says, agree on the criteria. No one should win all three, because there are certain criteria, and people who show up, somebody's going to fit that criteria probably better than that one person who fits all three. Let's talk about wellness. Let's talk about bikini. You know, I know they backed off the criteria a little bit to make maybe the bikini look a little softer. With the introduction of wellness, that has allowed kind of that figure bikini or bodybuilder who might not fit those criteria and place them in a category that really allows them to thrive with maybe the thicker quad sweep, maybe a better glute tie-in, glute ham tie-in, larger, rounder glutes. What's your take on wellness?
Well, I'm thinking about doing it at your show, because I figure it's 2022. You know, you guys would accommodate, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I'm saying a quick prayer. I have the Holy Bible right now. Go ahead.
I got mine right here too. We're good. So put it up to 1 Corinthians chapter 6.
We're getting canceled, Kyle. We're still getting canceled after this.
It's okay. I'm awake.
No, go ahead.
I'm awake, so we're woke. So what it comes down to, I love the change that's happened, because you saw girls that were competing in bikini that looked great. And then they had the muscle, they had the tone, they had everything that was necessary, but they lost to a girl that didn't diet as hard, that didn't diet as long, who has basically looks like a toothpick with a nice butt. So, and I love the fact that they made an area for those women. And they did it for bodybuilding, you know, which is great. I mean, they did it for bodybuilding, which is, you know, they created, you know, the physique for the guys who don't necessarily have the great quads or maybe have the thickness or the fullness, but they definitely have a tiny little waist, broad shoulders, and they have just shredded freaking abdominal muscles, you know, but they're not quite ready to take that advanced step yet into classic or into bodybuilding, because they don't have the muscle maturity yet. And they did that for the guys, and I love the fact that they did that with the women. I think it's great. It opened up a lot of doors, and you're seeing wellness explode because of it. I know that over here now there's almost more women in wellness than there are in the bikini, and I think a lot of that is because every day is glute day for ladies. So just like for guys, every day is chest day, right? Or every day is arm day. Now in my book, it's like every day is leg day. But I love that. I love the fact that they accommodated all the athletes in every shape and size of a body. I think it's unbelievably great. I think what a way to really inspire women who said, I can't do that. So it's like, I can't fit that. So I got to either get way bigger to go into the women's bodybuilding or into figure. So, and I love the fact that they made that happen for him. So that way they have now a place, which is amazing. So, and I'm sure the promoters aren't hating the idea either.
No, you know, it does allow and open up for a category, because when we think about it, men have three, right? It's either classic, bodybuilding, or physique. Women had figure, because really women's bodybuilding, it's not non-existent. It's just that it's not as popular because that feminine look is very sacred. And, you know, if you're going to go into that category, we want to continue to keep the integrity of that. I want to ask you this selfishly, since you're making your wellness debut at my show. You've done a lot of shows. You've gotten a chance to see great promotion. You've gotten a chance to see maybe a not so great. I would like to know, in your opinion, because I'm a student of this sport and this industry and this, you know, really what we want to give back to athletes, because truly it's not about the organization. It's not about the show. It's actually about the athlete, because without the athlete, you have no show. What are some of the things that you have found to be great productions? What are some of the things you can brag about that you said, that was a great show? What made it great?
So the shows that I have done that I have said are the greatest are truly when they get the athletes on the stage and let them have their time on the stage, take them off the stage, and then bring them back on the stage so that way they can be done. Those are the ones I love the most. So now a little time in between, which is great, is always great. So like, for example, the last one I did, I loved it to death. We went on stage. We did our judging round. As soon as we're done with the judging round, we got off. All the guys went up. So every class of all the guys went up. And then as soon as they were done, they brought us back up for finals. It was great. So that way we didn't, I mean, I've been to shows before, and I'm going to use this one. 2014, I did a show, wound up winning the show. But dude, I was there until almost 2 a.m.
You're exhausted.
I've been dieting for 20 weeks, and all I want to do is go eat. All I want to do is go eat. And sitting there and getting ready for it, getting pumped up, go out first thing in the morning, and you do your prejudging. As soon as you're done with the prejudging, we got off, and I was there, and I had to wait for every woman to get on stage, every other class to go on stage. Bodybuilding was the very last one. I want to say there was close to 430 competitors total in the whole show. And I finally finished, especially with the overall, at 2 a.m. That was horrible. So the last time, and that competed in the exact same show last time, and the last one I did, it was wonderful. I went up, they put all the guys first, which was wonderful. So all the guys went up first. We did our thing, prejudging, came off, and then they had all the guys finished. Then we went up and we got a chance to do the finals and get our trophies. And then they did the overall. I thought that was amazingly ran. I thought that was wonderful for all the athletes. They made it clear on what time you should be there and what time you're going to be up, and they held true to all of it. And I thought that was great. Shows that I've been to, like that one where I went up at 2 a.m., not a huge fan of that. That was a pain in the butt, and I'm sure the judges were probably thinking the same thing. The other one that I really did not like, and I'm not going to name names, but we had an athletes meeting, and at the athletes meeting, I actually bluntly asked the promoter, is it going to be ran like you guys did last year? Because that wasn't very fair for the athletes, which was they went up, did prejudging, they stood to the side, immediately came out and did finals. But this year they switched it around, and they had you come out and they had you do your posing routine, and then they had you do your prejudging. So you're already kind of spent after your posing routine. Then immediately have to come out and hold your poses for 45 minutes. I'm sorry. That was just a silly move. And I had bluntly asked the promoter, I said, hey, are you guys going to do it this way? Because that really put a lot of pressure on the athlete, and they couldn't show the best. So how are we going to do it? Is it going to be prejudging, and then we're going to come back out and do our routines? And they said, yes. 15 minutes before we hit the stage, they changed it.
Oh.
Yeah. And you and I had a conversation about that about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really told me I don't want to be a part of that organization any longer, because it really wasn't about the athletes. I mean, I gave you money to be here. So it's like, and it wasn't just myself that felt that way. It was every competitor except for a couple of them that weren't very happy about that. And I was just like, that wasn't very fair to anybody. But the way I think that they're doing it now, they've got away from, hey, doing prejudging and then wait, 8 or 9 hours and then do the finals. I love how they've kind of gotten more away from that and really made it a lot easier on the athlete, which is great. So, because truly, anybody who's competing in a bodybuilding show will totally agree with me on this. All we want to do is get on stage, get off the stage, eat some food, and take a shower. Yeah. That's all we want to do. That's all we want to do. We want to get that disgusting tan off of our body, and we want to fill our body with something that's going to give us diarrhea 2 hours later. So that's all we want to do. So
you had to go there, dude.
Hey, it's the truth. It's the truth.
We're speaking truth today.
I want ice cream and I want burgers and pizza. That's what I want. And you haven't had it in like 20 weeks, so you already know it's going to go in one hole and out the other. So it's all good.
Well, you mentioned communication, you mentioned planning, you mentioned promptness, on time. Let's talk about awards. As a bodybuilder, as a bikini athlete, what are some of the coolest awards that you've seen at bodybuilding shows?
Man, some of the coolest things I've ever seen are things that people can really enjoy. So So when they get things like a Thor hammer or they get like a stormtrooper mask, so
I heard you slipping that in there. We actually talked about that our very first year. Our buddy said, I don't want that. Go ahead.
Yeah, like the Thor's hammer. I mean, there's some pretty killer trophies that people get. I'm kind of getting tired of the victory pose awards. I think that these other guys that are going for like more the Viking look, I think those are cool. I definitely still agree that swords and axes and stuff like that are the best overall things to give somebody because everybody wants one. Yeah. Getting like a ring or a watch or something like that does it. I mean, that's just, I'm never going to wear it. I'm never going to be able to show it off. Nobody's ever going to see it. But have something that you can really like showcase. It's pretty stinking cool. Yeah. So I think those are great. I think also giving overall winners something more than just a sword, whether it's a duffel bag full of supplements. I know one thing that we did, Krista and I, we did years ago as a promotion. We put on the Mount Olympus bodybuilding competition here in Spokane. We only did it for 1 year, but we wound up giving away trips, all exclusive paid trips to places like Cabo or Jamaica or Hawaii. And we gave that away to the overall winners. So, and that was something cool because you can't give away, if you have letters in front of the name show, you can't give away money because now they're professional athletes because they're getting paid to compete. But you can give away a certain amount dollar wise of something else to a competitor who competed that won. And I think that just really is kind of giving back to the competitor and giving back to the athletes. Because I don't know, if there's athletes out there right now, voice your opinion in, but would you do a show if somebody said, hey, overall winner gets an all-exclusive paid trip to Maui and they get a freaking battle axe? I know I'd be all like, dude, I really want to win that show.
Well, you actually had a guy from Greece. He said the swords are the way to go. So if you see this gentleman or lady, which I don't see the Facebook thing, it's funny to be able to see some of these things that, and I wanted to ask you about that. Now, we found a way to be able to pay amateurs. And what's interesting is, when we give away a prize pool, I think that, it's nothing big. It's only $20,000, but, it's a start, right? And we want to continue to grow on that and build each year. I think a lot of times it's not that they can't pay amateurs. It's just that they haven't found a way. Yeah. And now that we found a way legally to do it, because I asked like 3 different attorneys, I asked my CPA, and they said, yes, you can legally do it this way. I think that's what the draw is. And that's one of the reasons why Brandon contacted me. And, it's like, hey, I'm with Top Dog Nutrition. I want to bring maybe, a sponsorship down. You got another call. So I'll just keep talking. You keep doing your thing. And I'm about to lose my battery anyway. So as we kind of close up, I wanted to be able to finally give something back to the athletes to where even if, it was a little bit of money, but you know what, if pros and amateurs are on the same level, that gives them the opportunity to work that much harder as an amateur. And that keeps the pros on the toes because they don't want to be beat by an amateur. So I see Mark with Mr. America tuning in, and he's probably got some things. By the way, this gentleman runs an amazing show up in Atlantic City. I can't wait in October to see his show take off because he's really bringing the heat. He's done it for many years. But in closing, I would like to know, Kyle, from you. Knowing what you know now, with your career, with your history, with you actually having athletes, you being with Big Dan's Nutrition, what are some of the things that you'd really like to see with the sport moving from here?
So there's a couple things I would love to see happen to the sport. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to be trying to work on this in the next couple of years. First thing I'd really like to see brought back into the sport is God. I'd really like to see God and Jesus brought back into shows. I'd also like to see America be brought back into the shows. A little bit of patriotism. I remember back in the day here in Spokane, we used to have the Marine Corps color guard come on down and put up the flag and sing the national anthem and all that stuff. A lot of shows these days, you don't see that happen at all. Matter of fact, you won't even see an American flag on a stage. I'd love to see that. So I'd like to see those two things happen. Now, I used to be part of Stronghold Ministries with Pastor Andy Steiner and Pastor Michael Wanger. They stopped in about 2009, but we used to go to the Olympia. We used to go to the Arnold Classic, and we would be there for all the athletes, be able to pray for all the athletes, be able to go to their hotel rooms. I mean, I remember one year, Kai Green, this was at the Colorado Pro Show that Sean Ray put on. And we were there. I was there with Fred Krause from Pure Performance Nutrition, which makes like gunpowder and ballistic, natural testosterone booster, all this stuff. I've been friends with Fred for almost 20 years, man. And he flew me down there to help out, to help run his booth and to help pray for the athletes. And I remember going and helping Kai Green out. He showed up with $5 in his pocket and a cooler. And I remember we were sitting there talking to him, and I was just kind of like somebody standing on the outskirts, just kind of being there if we needed. But Pastor Michael Wanger was talking to him, saying, what can we do for you? And he's just like, I just need help, man. He goes, if I don't walk away from this show with some money, I'm not getting home. Now, a lot of people don't realize that is how much time, money, and effort a bodybuilder will put into their craft. That's how much they'll put into a bodybuilding show. Every single thing that they got. And when you realize that you got God with you, dude, you already have everything you need. For Matthew 6:33 says, first seek his righteousness and his kingdom, and he will provide you with everything. For do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Today has enough trouble of its own. So I'd love to see those two things brought back into it. Promoters, by the time the show gets put on, they are trying to breathe. And athletes are sitting there with their buttholes puckered, just freaking out. So just nervous. They want to get up there. And I think that if we had some people that were there at bodybuilding shows, able to help other people out, pray for them, just serve, I think that'd be something really neat to have. Be like, hey, promoters can only do so much. You guys are a one-man army sometimes. It's sometimes just somebody like yourself and your wife, and maybe a tiny handful of other people really doing all of it. But there's a lot of athletes that are contacting you nonstop. Hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? Can I do this? Can I not do this? And it's just like, man, I got to respond to this, and I got to get this set up. Yep. So, and that's where you can if you have some folks there willing to serve and willing to do stuff that is selfless instead of selfish, because bodybuilding is very selfish. But have some other people that can be selfless to help out the selfish. Maybe one selfless act will lead into another.
What's funny is I'm seeing all these messages coming through. And, Mark, with Mr. America, when you said bring America back into the sport, if it's a national show, that's what he's all about. And I remember this last year, every year we put on the American flag. We have actually sung the national anthem. Those are things that allow us. We've even started it off in prayer. And, I think that to each his own and her own and the way that they run their events, I would just say that what you said was extremely critical, right? I have a tremendous amount of respect for someone who even has the courage, not only number one, to think about promoting the show, but number two, having the tenacity, the consistency, and the challenge of actually going through that event, start to finish. I tell you what, man, you're right. We get phone calls, we get texts, we get emails, we get literally hundreds of athletes bombarding us with questions, and we want to answer it like it's the first time we ever heard it. Yeah. And more importantly, we want to make sure once that moment starts, once the music starts with your DJ, who hopefully is a good DJ, who actually gets the bodybuilding portion music right? Because obviously we've seen shows where it doesn't go according to plan.
And whose fault is it when that doesn't go right?
Thank you. And so it's a thankless job, right? And by the way, we're nervous. We're kind of holding our breath going, man, I really hope my DJ was worth it. And that's one of the reasons why so many people, and before we close, I just want to say this. And I love Brian's Marine Corps idea, yes. When I think about, and the color guard is extremely cool, I think about spending $2,000 or $3,000 on a DJ for 8 to 9 hours because they've done a bodybuilding show. They know how the music flows. We're in communication because that's going to set the whole tempo. I think about an MC who's conditioned to understand the flow of a show and if they need to stall if something has a hiccup at the judging table. I think about judges who are experienced and can actually call the criteria. And you know what? Even though people are upset they might not win because it's a subjective sport, they can at least agree after they've gotten their criteria or feedback and said, oh, I could probably see that in the replay. I think about giving photographers second shoots, live streams. I think about goodie bags, duffel bags, swords. You know, you got my mind going. And frankly, going on 4 years now promoting the sport, I wouldn't have it any other way. I want athletes to give feedback, and I want promoters to be able to hear that feedback. So that way the whole entire level of the organizations or the non-sanctioned events go up in quality and they go up in quantity. Because if you choose to step on somebody's stage, that's your brand that you created. That's your baby. You want to share with that athlete what you created for them. And I think you hit it.
Yeah. Well, and the greatest thing and for a promoter is humbleism. And you have that, which is awesome. And I think that if more promoters were more humble about it, be like, this isn't about my pocketbook, but instead, this is about the athlete. Because I know for the show, I mean, I only put on one show, but the show we put on, dude, we took a $5,000 loss. We didn't make any money. It was all for the athletes. I remember when GNC, the owner of GNC was Paul Hughes at the time. He started the bodybuilding shows here in Spokane. Every single year, dude, $10,000 loss, $10,000 loss, $5,000 loss. And the year he actually made money, dude, he took all the money that was made and put it right back into the show. It wasn't about making the money. It was all about giving back to the athlete because he was in love with the sport of bodybuilding. An amazing man of God. And he's just like, the Lord has already given me everything that I need. And if he's given it to me, then everything that I give has already been given to me. And it comes from him, which is an amazing thing to look at because it's just like nothing we have is ours. It's all been given to us one way or another, including our breath. We have 20,000 of them every single day that are a gift. Yeah. What are we doing with every single one of those gifts? That's 20,000 gifts a day. It's like, let's use them wisely.
Yes. And, you know, based on that, I had a call with a gentleman, Dan Caldwell. He was the co-founder of Tap Out. And the reason why I bring this up is because the UFC is something that is probably in the mixed martial arts world at the pinnacle of that discipline. And I always remember Joe Rogan when he was commentating, so you want to be a UFC fighter. And I think people make that same commitment and they say, so you want to be a bodybuilder or you want to be an athlete, you know what? You're going to have to do the things that nobody else sees. You're going to have to put in the hours that nobody else cares about to get to that one moment on stage where when the lights turn on and you're on stage and you're in the middle by yourself in front of thousands of people, you can show off what choice you made every single morning. You either made the choice to get up and get out of bed and make it work, or you chose to sleep in and hit the snooze button. And very few people will make that choice to get out of bed even when they don't feel like it. So I think you've made that choice day in and day out. And dude, I appreciate your story so much. So any last minute words? Yes, go ahead.
You know, and it really comes down to is simple thing, which is drive. What drives you? What motivates you? I know for the longest time for myself, it was that first place trophy. It was that win. It was that W. Now every single day when I get out of bed is for the Lord. Plain and simple. It's what can I do? What can the Lord do through me for someone else? So if you've given me this, what now is it I am able to do to glorify the kingdom? And that's
3 P's.
Yeah.
What are they? Pain.
I'll just keep talking. Pain. So he said 3. You went away for a second. So
purpose, platform. And that's one of the gentlemen that I have a call with at my 1 o'clock. We ended up going a little.
So anyway, since Matt is gone, we're going to have the co-host today, Mr. Wade Wilson here, and he's going to be talking to you. And he brought along his good buddy, Peter Porker. That's right, Spider Pig. We're here, and what we're going to do right now is we're going to have a little talk with each other. And it's going to go, hello, Mr. Peter. And it's going to go, hello, Mr. Peter. And what they're going to do is they're going to do this. In the middle between both of them, they're going to have a kiss.
Oh.
So...
Well, I will say this. If you're up for a part 2, I think that we could get a little bit more and delve in, you know, as far as some of these things, because I absolutely enjoyed the time. And for those of you who are just tuning in, Kyle Stevens, you can follow him at Kyle Stevens Pro on IG. If you see on the little bottom of the ticker, KYLESTEVENS PRO, maximum effort. That's exactly right. Now I have to
earn tootin' fruit.
And then Facebook, Kyle Stevens. He's with Big Dan's Nutrition. He is the COO and someone who is a close personal friend and someone who I honestly can say probably one of the best hearts in the sport and obviously one of the best minds because we don't mind chopping it up, being transparent, and being completely clear. So how can we support you to finish? And besides moving, I can't do that.
I don't know. It's this weird sensitive itch I get sometimes. What I would to support me, this is all I would say is, truthfully, guys, if you guys ever need prayer, encouraging or something inspiring, hit me up. So I'm here to serve the Lord, period. So that's what I'm here for. So if there's anything out there that anybody's watching or needing, just needs some inspiration, going through a hard time, going through a divorce, going through financial issues, whatever you might be going through right now, and you just feel like you're lost or that you're on a dead end, or maybe you feel like you're at the edge of a cliff ready to jump off, do not hesitate to reach out, because it's the reaching out, saying that you're weak is what really makes you strong. And I know that right now times are tough for a lot of folks. I mean, gas prices are up, food prices are up, costs of goods are up. I know this for a fact because in the supplement industry, supplements are up. So I know that it's people can go through a difficult time, and it can cause a lot of with people that you love and that you care about. And if there's anything that anybody out there needs, do not hesitate to get on Instagram or Facebook and reach out and hit me up, because I am here to help. Anything I can do, whether it's prayer, whether it's support. Hey, man, if I only got $5, it's yours, man, if you need it. So whatever I can do to help somebody out, man, I am there. That goes for you too, Matt. So, don't be a stormtrooper. Be a storm. Get in through a storm. That kind of a storm. Hey, what did Jesus do during a storm? He took a nap. So
he rested. He rested.
And then his disciples are worried about drowning, and he gets up and goes, quiet, in the storm. So,
oh man. Well, I appreciate the time, Kyle. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get off, let me pray for you real fast, brother.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Father God, Lord, just thank you for everything that you do, and thank you for this amazing opportunity. Lord, with everything that's coming up in Matt's life, with these podcast things, and with the Storm Classic, with everything else, Lord, I pray that you will just put your hand in every area of it. And that, Lord, not with that too, but also just put your hand on his life and his family's life. And Lord, just put a hedge of protection around all of it for anything that the devil schemes are that he wants to actually have come in to try to take him off of this road, to try to take him off of this path that you have already made for him. That, Lord, that you will just allow him to find a way around every single hurdle that the devil puts in his way. So that way, Lord, he can continuously get to show the joy of Jesus Christ in his life to everybody that comes across him. Lord, protect him, protect his family, and just, Lord, allow other people to see more of you and less of us in everything we do. In your name, amen.
Amen. Well, Kyle Stevens, that is the best way we've ever ended a podcast, and you are the most energetic, and I can't wait to get back on here with you. But, with that, for those of you who are following Kyle, you already know how great he is. For those of you who are not, that's a big mistake. You need to make sure Kyle Stevens Pro, Instagram, or Kyle Stevens on Facebook. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do it. So until then, next Friday, 5:30 p.m., Friday FitCast. You can see the replay. Yes.
Next time you do, ladies and gentlemen, a guy has to go like this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, are you ready? Are you ready?
I don't know if I can do that. You know what? You might be hired to do that soon. So you keep doing that. You're going to get auditions and better than Bruce or Bruce Buffer or Michael Buffer. There you go. That's the pinnacle right there. He gets paid like $1 million every time somebody uses that. So you hear that?
You can be you can be my buffer too, because you can go like this, go woo.
Well, hey man, I appreciate the time, and Kyle, thank you. We'll be in touch soon, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next week at 5:30 p.m. Same time, same place.
Shakalaka.